Creatives, I'm Amy, and today I'm bringing you a video about 7 ways to update old and tired furniture. If you like videos with DIY home decor projects or thrift flips, please subscribe to my channel for more of this kind of content. Okay, so without further ado, let's tackle that list. Number 1 is new hardware. This one's easy. Anybody can do this in 10 minutes or less. You can change out the hardware on a piece of furniture and make it have a completely different look. The only things you need to know are what size hardware you need to replace it. So before you go looking for something to replace, take what you have, measure it. In the US, most replacement drawer pulls have either a 3-inch or a 4-inch space in between the 2 screws. So look at that and see what you have, and that way you'll be able to find which pieces will replace what you have without having to drill new holes and fill in the old holes. If you find pieces that can fit into the holes you already have, then this is a super easy project that anyone can do. One of the best sources for really cute replacement hardware is Anthropologie. So you might check them out for drawer pulls and knobs. They're not going to be cheap from Anthropologie, but it's cheaper than a new piece of furniture, and it can make your furniture look like $1 million even if it was just an inexpensive little piece of case goods, but it has these nice pulls on it now, so it's worth checking out. Okay, number 2, going from simplest projects to more difficult ones. Number 2 is remove the skirt. If you have a chair or couch that has a skirt that makes it look dated, sometimes just pulling that skirt off can make it look up to date and modern, especially if it has nice pretty legs underneath. So check the piece of furniture, see how the upholstery looks, see what the legs look like underneath, and if they all look okay, pull that skirt off. It's not too hard to do, and you just need some pliers and probably a flathead screwdriver that you can pry the staples out with, and then just get to it and pull that skirt off. A lot of times you'll have a much more modern looking piece as soon as you take the skirt off, and that's a pretty simple thing to do that most of us can do with just a little bit of strength and a little elbow grease. Alright, tip number 3 is new legs. Putting new legs on a piece of furniture can give it a completely new look. It's like a different piece of furniture entirely. So from that last tip about removing the skirt, if you have legs that aren't that pretty, you could replace them with prettier legs. That would be for an upholstered piece, or for a piece of case goods like a dresser or a chest. Sometimes putting some legs on there or replacing the legs will make it look completely different. You could also consider putting casters or wheels on a piece of case goods for a different look that can be really cool. So all of those options are fairly easy to do. What you need to do before you start this project is flip it over and see how the things are attached that are on there already. See how much space you have to screw something else in, because most of the legs that you'll want will also have a piece of hardware that has some screws in it that will receive the leg, and you need to make sure that there's room underneath to put that piece of hardware on and then put the leg on. So make sure you kind of see what you've got going on underneath before you commit completely and can't go back. Alright, tip number 4, new paint. Now, I've said over and over again that paint is the cheapest and easiest way to transform a space or a piece of furniture. It's not expensive, most of us can do it, and it can make something look completely different in very little time and with very little money. For a piece of furniture, painting it can give it a real fresh look, and it's not that hard to do. You don't need to refinish the furniture. That's a beautiful thing to do, but that does take a lot more time and skill. A few years ago when they started bringing chalk paints onto the market, those were a super easy solution that anybody could use, and they were pretty expensive in the beginning, but now they have come down in price. There are several brands that are not very expensive, and they're well worth it because you don't have to do as much prepping or as many coats of paint to get them to cover. So just a quick coat of paint and then maybe some clear coat or some kind of sealant like wax can give a piece of furniture a whole new look. It's definitely worth checking out. Okay, we're up to tip number 5, which is strip it. Again, I'm not talking about a total refinish of a piece of furniture, which is a lot more work, but stripping just one part of the furniture can give it a completely different look. Now, in a table or a nightstand or dresser, stripping the paint off the top, which is the large flat surface, the easiest part to strip paint off of, that can make it look completely different and be really on trend and cute. So if you use a gel or paste furniture stripper, you can put it across the top flat part and just around the edges, let it sit until it's ready to strip, and it's a fairly easy project to just strip it off those big flat horizontal surfaces. It's much harder stripping paint off all the little tiny places with all the details, but if you just do the top of a table or a dresser, it's a pretty easy project to do, and then you can either wax it or clear coat it or seal it in some other way, and you'll have a piece of furniture that looks very different than it did before. Tip number 6, change the upholstery. There's several ways to do this. The most beautiful way to change the upholstery is to get a professional person to reupholster it for you. This is very quick and it completely changes a piece of furniture and to look brand new. It's like having a new piece of furniture. Sometimes on an old piece, it'll be built on a frame that's stronger and sturdier than a lot of the furniture you can get now. So some of those old pieces of furniture are great to reupholster. It costs more money, but it's easy because someone else is doing it for you. Now, if you don't have the budget for that, then there are a couple other options. One is to try and reupholster it yourself. In that case, I would look for something with very simple lines, not a lot of curves, and look at what the edges are doing and how the edges are finished out, because that's where it can get tricky as far as how you're finishing out the edges. Are you willing to use some kind of GIMP or some kind of tacks to finish it out so that it will look clean? And figure out a plan for how you would do that before you invest in a piece of furniture or start ripping off the upholstery you already have. The other option is to paint the upholstery. There are a lot of videos on the internet about how to paint your upholstery, and it's a so-so solution. Sometimes it can work great in the right circumstance. And so if you have a piece of furniture and you have a color that you want to change it to, and the current upholstery will work with the color you want to change it to because it will kind of be influenced by the color that's underneath, then you can paint it. And I will link below a video from Debbie's Design Diary that shows an example of one that's really well done and looks really pretty. So this couch I'm sitting on right here actually was painted. It used to be a aqua. When I bought it secondhand, it was aqua, and as it kind of started to fade, a few stains started to show up, and so I did paint it gray I used a Annie Sloan charcoal colored paint, and I watered it way down till it was almost just like a watery dye and turned it into this gray color, and it's soft and comfortable, and I've used it like this for years and it works well. So it totally depends on what the project is, what color you're using, and how much you water down the paint to make it work properly. So do some research before you jump in and tackle a project like that. And finally, tip number 7 is to just make it your canvas. This is my favorite one. You can paint something on a piece of furniture, a dresser, a table, case goods, anything like that. Just treat the whole piece of furniture like it's a canvas that you're going to do a work of art on. This is a lot of fun if you're somebody who is crafty or likes to paint or likes to do these kinds of projects. And the good thing, like I always say about paint, is you can paint over it if you don't like the way it looks. So just using the whole piece as your canvas can be a lot of fun to do. If you want to do something simple, you can use painter's tape and tape off stripes or sections and just give it a geometric pattern. That's something you can do if you don't feel comfortable freehanding a design, and it can give it a really interesting look that can be a focal piece in a room. If you're going to do that, just remember that that piece has a lot of impact and a lot of attention. Let's say it speaks very loudly, and so the other things in your room, in your decor, will need to maybe be a little more subtle so that that piece doesn't make the room completely busy and crazy looking. Alright, I hope you liked those 7 tips for updating old or tired furniture, or furniture that you see at the thrift store or at a garage sale that you want to do something to. I would love to hear your ideas below in the comments of what you like to do to pieces of furniture, or if you have a piece that you've ever updated or changed or refinished. I'd love to hear all about it. Let me know in the comments. What are your ideas? Is there anything I forgot? Anything that you would add? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.